I've already said it, but 2025 has a good chance to be the best year of gaming ever. We've already listed over 50 incredible indies that you should keep an eye on, and we've also already made 10 predictions that we think also have a good chance at happening in 2025. The good news is that if you're on Game Pass Ultimate, you will be getting to experience some of the best that gaming has to offer in 2025. As a bonus, hang around until the end where I will list a few more games that haven't been officially confirmed for 2025 or Game Pass just yet, but do have a decent chance of happening. We're going to start with this list by going through the year in chronological order with confirmed dates and then release date window assumptions after that. Here are the 10 best games that are coming to Game Pass Ultimate in 2025. We will start the list with the games that already have release dates, with the first being on January 28th, and that's Eternal Strands from Yellow Brick Games out of Montreal. This is the debut title from the studio that is overflowing with Dragon Age and Assassin's Creed pedigree among plenty more AAA experience. According to the studio, Eternal Strands is inspired by Dragon's Dogma, Shadow of the Colossus, and Breath of the Wild. However, at the heart of Eternal Strands is the blending of weapons, spells, and reactivity. Fire, ice, and telekinetic powers combine with raw steel to create unforgettable encounters with destructible environments built in Unreal Engine 5. With a multitude of spells, colossal adversaries, as well as looting and crafting, and Eternal Strands looks to start off 2025 on a very strong note with this fantasy action adventure. Yellow Brick Games is also already collaborating with the Square Enix studio Creative Studio 3 for the first post-launch update, which is going to be completely free. If you want even more fantasy, then you won't have to wait much longer, as Vow From Obsidian is set to release on February 18th or February 13th if you pre-order the premium edition. Avowed was delayed back in August 2024 for no specific reason other than what seemed like giving the first-person fantasy RPG a better chance at success, as fall 2024 was pretty crowded for game releases. You play as the envoy of Aether, a distant land where you are one of the last god-touched beings and part of a dying breed. Your task is to help out the people with a mysterious plague that is taking over. The plague is spreading and infecting the people, animals, and lands, and you must investigate and save these living lands. The world is filled with mysteries to unravel, secrets to solve, and dangers to overcome. On your adventure, there will be plenty of choice, consequence, and combat. You are able to approach combat as you like by mixing and matching what suits you, from swords, spells, shields, guns, and bows. If you want to dual wield guns, you can do that, or if you want to dual wield magic wands, you can also do that. Although the world isn't completely open, there are large open sections to explore, with the first one taking about 20 hours, and the whole game likely having 4 to 6 more open areas to plunder. There are no more official release dates, but Clare Obscure Expedition 33 was initially targeting spring 2025, which could be around March or April if all goes well. Clare Obscure Expedition 33 is a turn-based JRPG with an active battle system and other real-time mechanics. Expedition 33 has a very strong European influence with a world inspired by the Belle Epoque, which translates to the Beautiful Age. Combining this era with a fantastical world that we have seen in the trailers creates a very unique setting that feels original. The other part that feels unique is the Children of Men style setting, but in this case, there is no old age anymore, which is a very interesting concept. One of the most interesting aspects is that the members of Expedition 33 only have 1 year left to live. From a gameplay perspective, it all began with the studio seeing what they called a void. There hasn't really been any attempt at making a turn-based RPG with high-fidelity graphics for a while. Trying to push the limits of fidelity is a simple explanation for why Sandfall chose to create Clare Obscure Expedition 33 in Unreal Engine 5. Expedition 33 is trying something unique that they are calling a reactive turn-based battle system. This is a system that takes traditional turn-based RPG and infuses their love for action games and Souls-likes. During the enemy turn, you will need to be reactive with dodging, jumping, and parrying, and in the words of the director, as soon as I finished the first prototype of the defense system, I knew it was something special. Sleight of Hand is a third-person stealth action deck builder. Now, it's no secret that deck builders are having a moment, but as with anything, there is always room for one more if something is done right or it innovates. Sleight of Hand is inspired by noir and tactical espionage about a witch who has been pulled out of retirement for one last job and must infiltrate her old coven using a cursed deck of cards. Sleight of Hand is set in the hard-boiled, rain-soaked city of Taboo, a world that is separated by those with magical powers and those without. In the words of the director, it's as if you took Metal Gear Solid and replaced all of the guns with cards. Sleight of Hand combines level design and tension of the stealth genre with the strategy and mechanics of card games. The studio said that Sleight of Hand is a love letter to their favorite games, Metal Gear Solid, Dishonored, and Max Payne 2. Subnautica was not only a huge success, but along with PUBG, were huge successes for Xbox Game Preview, which is their early access program. The biggest change coming to Subnautica 2 is the addition of co-op. Subnautica 2 will feature the ability to play alone or with up to 3 players. The adventure will be set on an all-new planet that is too dangerous for humans to survive, which will require you to evolve your genetics and adapt. Subnautica 2 will feature a whole new story and plenty of new biomes, from towering underwater cliffs to lush coral fields teeming with diverse ecosystems and unique creatures. But something has happened here, and against the better judgment of your AI to leave, you need to uncover the truth. Sometimes sequels try and reinvent themselves and forget the core elements of the series. Subnautica 2 is not trying to rock the boat, pun intended, but instead it looks to build on the great foundation of the first game that people love. Subnautica remained in early access for longer than most games and is likely to happen again, as the team have said that they are going to be adding more biomes, creatures, craftables, and expanding the narrative. Subnautica 2 will once again be part of Xbox Game Preview program when it comes to Game Pass, hopefully in 2025. South of Midnight will be the first release from Compulsion Games since they were acquired by Microsoft back in 2018. The studio released We Happy Few into early access in 2016, and it saw a final release in 2018. Since then, Compulsion Games, the studio founded by former Arcane developer and based in Montreal, have been quietly toiling away on South of Midnight, an action-adventure set in a fantastical version of the American Deep South. When disaster strikes, Hazel is called upon to become a weaver who is a magical mender. South of Midnight has jumped off the screen since it was first revealed with a teaser trailer back in 2023 with a stop-motion style animation, larger-than-life enemies, and an environment almost out of a fairy tale. At its core, South of Midnight has a lot of themes that are relevant in today's world, including bringing people together and learning empathy for the people who aren't like you. Replaced at one point was one of our most anticipated indie games, but over the years, our expectations have been tempered slightly. Not much can be said that hasn't already been said about the game. It was originally supposed to be released in 2022, and then the war in Ukraine happened, and with the studio located in Belarus, which does share the border, things had to be put on hold for the safety of the team. Nothing has changed about Replaced. The premise still sounds interesting as you play as an AI trapped in a human body. The visuals are still eye-poppingly gorgeous with a 2.5D pixel aesthetic, and the score is still dripping with 80s synth. Every trailer that we have been shown looks better than the one before, but just over the passage of time, our interest has cooled, but we still can't wait to see how this game turns out. There are a lot of firsts happening with Fable. This is the first title from Playground Games that isn't a Forza Horizon title, as they have released 5 entries dating back to 2012. Every single one of those games basically reviewed above the 90th percentile. This reboot, as it's being labeled, will be the first entry in the series not developed by Lionhead Studios, who were acquired by Microsoft in 2006, a few years after the success of Fable, and then would eventually be shut down in 2016. Fable will be the first entry in over a decade, and Fable will also be using the Forza tech engine that Playground uses for the Horizon series. Fable will still take place in Albion and will see you take on the role of Humphrey, who was once one of the greatest heroes of the lands and is now forced out of retirement when someone he took under his wing went on to prove themselves and now returns to take over Albion. The visuals look stunning, which shouldn't come as a surprise. There are a few snippets of gameplay sprinkled throughout the trailers that do look very promising, and the writing contains that dry British humor thanks to Playground. If you need more than grinding demon skulls for ammo to get excited, I don't think Doom the Dark Ages will be for you. The long-awaited sequel to Doom Eternal from 2020 is finally coming. There is little doubt that Doom the Dark Ages won't be the crown jewel for Xbox in 2025, which means a premium release window where the Titans all hang out. The big changes that are coming to Doom the Dark Ages that we can see from the trailer include piloting a giant mech, a new parry mechanic which in the trailer is done using a chainsaw shield, and being able to fly around on a dragon. The one big downside is that the score won't be done by Mick Gordon, who did some incredible work on Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal. After the release of Eternal, there was some kind of falling out between the composer and the studio. Doom: The Dark Ages will be a prequel to Doom 2016 and will feature the origin story for the Doomslayer. According to the game's director Hugo Martin, the story will be more on the main path for players and less in the codex. Way back in June 2022 at the Xbox and Bethesda Summer Showcase, a little indie by the name of Silksong showed up and was infamously stated that all of the games shown would be released in 12 months. Obviously that didn't happen, and there really isn't any reason to think that it will happen in 2025 either, but it has to come out eventually. Crowsworn and Silksong are linked together for a few reasons, with one being that the head of marketing is the same at both companies. When he was asked if Crowsworn would release before Silksong, he said no chance. People might think that Team Cherry are billionaires after the success of Hollow Knight, but no matter what, Mongoose Rodeo haven't released a game and they need money, which means that they will still need to release Crowsworn, which logically means that Silksong will come out before it, like the head of marketing said. I actually think that while it might not have been the initial intention, Team Cherry have now embraced the silence. Absence does make the heart grow fonder, as anticipation for the game has only grown since the reveal, and you can verify this by using Google Trends. There are games that are highly unlikely to release in 2025 that we know are coming to Game Pass, like Perfect Dark and State of Decay 3, but there are a few games that are a little more likely to release in 2025, so here are a few more bonus picks that might release. Gears of War 5, or Gears 5, came out initially in 2019, which means that Gears of War E-Day has been in development now for at least 5 years. Gears of War E-Day will see the Coalition get a chance at having Marcus and Dom as the main characters, as it will be a prequel that will take place 14 years before the events of Gears of War. There is huge potential with Gears of War E-Day, as they are giving the players what they want, which is to get back to the people that we have grown up with and get to the core of the series. Even the title, including the full name of the game, is a sign of how aware the Coalition is. They also included the iconic Mad World song for the trailer of E-Day. Before the Coalition took over, the average development time was about 2 years between projects, and even the time between Gears 4 and Gears 5 was only 3 years, and the Coalition have only grown over the years. About the only reason that Gears of War E-Day might not release in 2025 is because 2026 would be the 20th anniversary for the series, and that might be something that Xbox wants to double down on. The only game on this list that isn't actually listed for Game Pass as of yet, but Xbox and Bloober Team have a very strong history together. Their last two games before Silent Hill Remake, Blair Witch and The Medium, were both day one releases on Game Pass. The game description reads, Chronos is set in a grim world where Eastern European brutalism meets retro futurist technology. You play as a traveler who must scour the wastelands of the future in search of time rifts that will send you back to 1980s Poland. Once there, your mission is to locate key people who perished in the apocalypse. Using your all-powerful harvester, you need to extract their essences and have them accompany you into the future. I think almost as important as what a studio has done is what a studio has done lately, and when it comes to Bloober Team, they took one of the best survival horror games of all time and made it better in almost every conceivable way. What it means is that without a doubt, they have proved the ability to make an amazing survival horror game, and we are easily very excited about Chronos: The New Dawn and are optimistic that they can stick the landing. I can't think of a better studio than Arcane Leon to develop a game based on Marvel's Blade. Blade will be a third-person action-adventure set in the heart of Paris. The game will take players to a quarantined section of Paris in the middle of a supernatural emergency. Arcane Leon is the perfect fit because they understand superpowers after developing Dishonored and Deathloop. They understand the mechanics needed, like stalking prey, and more importantly, we have seen that they understand atmosphere. If you take a look at their history, Arcane Leon has been pretty efficient in their development cycles. Their first game alone was Dishonored II, which released in 2016, followed by the standalone expansion Death of the Outsider in 2017. Then the two games with Machine Games in 2019, and finally Deathloop in 2021. Thanks to Arcane Leon being part of Bethesda, Blade will be a day one Game Pass title. Let me know in the comments below what game you're most excited for that's coming to Game Pass in 2025. Also, if you enjoyed this video, you'd probably like to see our top 25 most anticipated indies of next year, which does have a few crossovers on this list. That's all for this video, but until next time, be good to your fellow gamer, but be better to your fellow human.